I like the idea of boot camps. I like the theory of boot camps, but I think that if you go into a boot camp, it should walk you into a job.
You can take the information that you learn from certifications and you can directly go into interviews, and whatever you're talking about that you learn from the certifications is relevant.
The curriculum can be outdated sometimes, right? Because technology moves so fast, and the ability for colleges to update their curriculum is a slower pace than what technology actually does. So I think for the
What up, Tech fam? It's Johnnie Tech, and I'm here with my guy.
What up, Tech? What's going on?
And this is Just My Tech Sense, where we talk tech, finance, and
lifestyle.
Let's get it.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today?
Applause today. No.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Come on, man.
Systematic.
That amps me up, man.
That systematic round of applause, not that.
Right.
That's manual.
That's the
analog,
slow. That was the slow clap right there
analog.
To get us ready.
Yeah. But we're good, man. So what we talking about today? I think what's on the docket is degrees, certifications, or boot camps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for those who are interested in any one of the three, there's a lot of information out there about which one you should go with, whether you should go with a degree, whether you should get a certification, or should you bypass both of those and go to a boot camp, right? And some of these boot camps can be astronomical in price, but less than college,
right.
More than a certification. But at the same time, you got to think about whether or not, what's their reputation in the field, right? So there's just a lot of things that we wanted to discuss today,
right,
when it comes to these categories. And so what's your opinion on like all three of them?
So to give my opinion on all three, I'll start with college, right? Because I did do the traditional 4-year college route, and I did pursue a IT degree, So my experience through that, I mean, college is definitely a great experience, but do I think that it prepared me 100% for the workforce? I had some preparation that was through college that I think was good, but I think that there was a lot of other things that I could have done while I was in college that would help propel me, right?
Yeah.
So I think that while you're in college, you have to be looking at what you're getting your degree in, and is it actually helping you for what you're looking to do, right? Because I got an IT degree, which is extremely broad, right? I touched almost everything, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a lot of information within that, right? So just in general, like, would I recommend people go to college? Sure,
Okay.
But there's other things that you need to do to make yourself successful going that route.
Yeah.
Like, if people, I wouldn't ever tell anyone not to go. I think it's extremely helpful. Like, especially if the goal is to get yourself a tech job, then definitely you should go to college, right?
No.
You disagree?
Well, I mean, I just don't think you need college to get a tech job.
I guess it all depends, right? So like, why would you say you don't need a degree?
I just don't think you need a degree to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are certain things that comes with the degree that could help, right? I mean, the things that you learn, the network that you build. But do you want to put yourself in that much debt? If you don't have, let's say, a scholarship or something like that, is that something that you're willing to do? Go 30, 40, 50, $100,000 in debt for a degree that you don't need in order to actually do the job. Now, I will say that if you're trying to, track and climb the ladder on the management side, at some point they're probably going to say you need a degree. But whether or not I feel like you need that in order to enter the workforce, it's different. But I say that understanding that I think the biggest thing that you really need in order to enter into tech is to have a really good network and have somebody who can vouch for you.
Mm-hmm.
And through college, you can really build a big network in the way that you cannot do with boot camps, in the way that you cannot do with certifications. Certifications, you're pretty much doing it alone.
Right. So what you're mentioning is, like, you can get. So you're saying, like, you can get a job in tech without going to college, but if you're looking to build that network, what better place than going to college, right? So I mean, I think that's why
But do I go into debt to do that? But I'm sorry.
Do you go into debt to do that? I mean, you would hope not. But when you go into college, that's the thing, right? If you don't have a scholarship, if you have to use financial aid. I mean, I use financial aid. Yeah. But I mean, I wish I can get it taken care of quicker. If it was going down a lot faster, that'd be great. But I mean, I think that I learned a lot of knowledge that maybe it didn't help me directly. Like I didn't go to like a technical school where they're just putting you hands on keyboard on exactly what you're gonna do on a job. But I did learn a lot of other things as far as like public speaking,
right,
and just kind of like presentation skills, networking,
yeah,
and also the biggest thing I think that you learn in college is how to solve a problem, right?
Yeah,
because you're basically on your own. You're giving these projects and assignments, and really your professors just want you to get it done, and you learn how to solve problems there.
Yeah,
and I think that's like the biggest thing that you get within college, right? I don't think that you're getting. I mean, definitely. Because I have my bachelor's degree and my master's. Like when I went through my master's program, I definitely think that was a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Because most of everything that I did there was more based on the job I wanted to do. But I think that was also because I already knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I was at a different level in my life to where I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew exactly what I needed to do to enhance where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So it was a different experience.
Yeah, and I think so. I mean, to sum all that up, college is more geared towards the soft skill side, mm-hmm. right? I mean, I know that there are technical classes, but the curriculum can be outdated sometimes, mm-hmm. right? Because technology moves so fast, and the ability for colleges to update their curriculum is a slower pace than what technology actually does. So I think for the soft sides, the networking, the being able to troubleshoot and problem solve, I think, again, that lends to the soft skills. So right. from that standpoint, we give college an edge. But when it comes to that student loan and that debt, right, that one step forward, two steps back, do you want to be, a slave to the lender? So that's right. One thing you got to think about with that. So let's talk about certifications then.
Okay, well, when we're talking knowledge, I had this smile. I was like, knowledge-wise, I think certifications is the best thing you can do, right? Because it's really showing you're really going over what's happening in the industry right now, right? And even if it's not right now, it's much closer than what you're going to learn in college, right?
Yeah.
So you can take the information that you learn from certifications and you can directly go into interviews, and whatever you're talking about that you learn from the certifications is relevant, right?
It should be.
So I think that's more helpful, and that's my experience too. Like when I decided, like even the basic certifications that I received is the Network Plus, Security Plus. Those things were relevant in the sense of like, this is knowledge that we want you to have, right? So even if you're not using it directly in that position, it's still great knowledge. It's more geared and directed towards you coming onto the job and completing certain tasks, and just it's showing you that it's directed with having hands-on skills as well, right?
Yeah.
So there are some theory things within it, but I think it's more. It's closer to what jobs are looking for than I think your degree is, right?
Yeah, I mean there are a few, right, that jobs are looking for. I just say with those, understand Security Plus, CSSP, Network Plus. There are those gold standard certifications that you probably should pursue, and there are some that you probably shouldn't. It really just depends on the job that you're trying to actually get.
Right.
Just like CCNA, if you're trying to be a network engineer, right, CCNA is probably going to be pivotal for you.
Right.
So just make sure you do your research on to which cert you feel like you should have in order to get the job, and then go for that. But there's a lot of wasted money and a lot of wasted time on some of these certs because there are just so many certs out there.
Right.
And as I said, it doesn't help to build your network unless you're in some kind of like Facebook group or some place where everybody's trying to like a study group that you can kind of talk to one another. But it doesn't give you that outside experience that college does. Going out and hanging out with your friends and then coming back and kind of having the same common goal of trying to graduate. So you have that. But yeah, the certifications, I feel like it's the easiest thing to get. It's the cheapest thing to get. But again, there's just, I think expectations are a little bit too high when it comes to certifications, as far as that being equivalent to, let's say, a 6-figure salary. I just don't think that's realistic. I think there's a little bit more flesh that you have to kind of give in order to make it to that level.
Right, and that's what I was going to say, because like we kind of talked about the downfalls of college. Like, okay, the pros of it is, okay, you learn these, you kind of build up your soft skills, and you still get some technical skills, but then there's a chance for you to have that student debt, right? But with certifications, okay, they're not they're nowhere near as expensive, right?
Yeah.
Unless we're talking, the SAN certs and things like that.
Yeah.
They get pretty pricey.
Yeah,
So
they're about 10,000.
Yeah, but that's still much cheaper than most college tuition as far as like tuition, room, board. So cert wise, right? But I don't think that the certs put you in the same position that college does when you get that degree, right? So you can, if you have someone with a bachelor's degree versus someone with maybe, depending on what the cert is, but even if it's a high level certification, I think that companies are more looking at you having that degree. So if you listen,
I just okay, I don't agree with that.
I mean, I've seen reports where it's saying like pretty much, especially when we're talking tech. I read an article is on Forbes. It's like 72% of companies.
Who wrote that article?
I pulled it from Forbes.
Is it credible?
Forbes is pretty credible to me. You know, they're legit, but they're saying 72% of people that get the computer and IT degrees, those jobs that they're looking for require you to have a degree, right? So they probably want you to have both, but if you don't have the degree, that's going to put you behind even more, right? So yeah, you can get the certifications, and you may have more knowledge because you're like the certifications. I think they can provide more knowledge than some colleges as far as because the information is more directed.
Absolutely.
But if you're still kind of getting X'd out automatically because you don't have the degree, then I would say the degree might be the way you need to go. Yeah, depending on the level as well. Like if you're entry level,
right? Right. I think companies only care if you can actually execute the job, right? And I get it. There are required skills and there are preferred skills, but I think at the end of the day, like companies are coming around to the fact that you don't need a degree in order to be successful in tech or to do the job.
I read an article about that too, where it's saying like companies. So that's a new shift.
Absolutely.
It's like I think the article came out in 2024. So it's like just now, like companies are kind of having that downshift. Like I don't really care as much that you have a degree. Mm-hmm. We just want to know that you can do the job.
That's right.
But that's just changing now. So right. I wouldn't for that to become the new social norm. It's going to take time for that to be that. So I would focus more on still kind of understand that, but you might have to take the traditional route. The traditional route, from my understanding, and from what I've seen, is like you kind of got to have that degree to get to the level you want to get to.
Okay. Well, we'll just agree to disagree.
Okay.
I just don't. I see that boat turning a little bit faster than the Titanic, right? I mean, that took too long to turn, and I think this is more of a speedboat as far as adaptation of not needing a degree. So, do I want to spend 4 years, $80,000, and then these companies catch on in 2028? And now I'm stuck with all this debt, or do I want to, learn the job, get on some of these platforms, try Hack the Box, learn that, grab a cert, and be able to do the job and not have that debt, right? I'm going to choose that all day long. So that would be my focus. If I'm new to the field, that's going to be my focus over degrees. Now, I would try and still get a degree if I was in a position where I could get scholarships, grants, whatever, to kind of reduce that student loan debt when I get out, because that's a huge issue,
right?
And it just keeps you in chains for a long time. So
I'm not anything you say about student debt, I'm not gonna disagree with, because I've been in that same boat, and that definitely does change things, right? But you just want to try to do whatever's going to put you in the best position to start making money, right? So
yeah, and then you got boot camps, right? So I don't know about boot camps. Like I understand they're kind of like trade schools, right? They're supposed to be like solely focused on what you're supposed to do, kept up with the times. But then I look at credentialing, right? And it's like a boot camp doesn't have to necessarily be credentialed in order for you to pay for their services,
right?
And how do you decipher what's a good boot camp? And is it after you put out $15,000 for this boot camp, and then you find out, I got Security Plus, and I got A Plus, right? They offer A Plus, Network Plus, and then you're still out there trying to get a job,
right?
After you pay $15,000, and I just don't have I'm sure there are pretty good boot camps out there. I just I haven't taken one. So from my experience, from what I've seen, I would just have to do more research on those, because the other two, I've been to college, I've done plenty of certifications, and I've been successful.
Right.
But I understand the boot camp's kind of in the middle of, we'll get you trained for certifications, we'll offer you a voucher so you can take the certifications, and then we'll also kind of hold your hand and walk you through it, which is something that certifications don't do, and sometimes colleges won't do because there's just a lot of students, and some of these teachers can't do that.
Right. So are you because there's many different types of boot camps, right? So like the boot camps, it sounds like you're referring to are boot camps that help you get certifications, right?
All boot camps should help you get certifications.
Well, they have like these programming boot camps out there where you don't necessarily get certified through.
There should be some kind of certification.
There's it's a certification through them, but it's not like, it may not be from a certifying body, right? So there's like Georgia Tech, they can give you a certificate saying that you went through their boot camp, because I've noticed that they had one, and it was like, I'm not gonna put the exact price out there, but it seemed like it was pretty pricey, right? So, and they advertise like, hey, you do this 3 month, 12-week boot camp, and then you'll be able to get out and get placed into a job, right? And I think a lot of people are gravitating towards that. But I think that I definitely think there's people who are doing that, and it is probable they can get a job. But I don't think that people that are doing particular boot camps, they're not starting from scratch, right? I believe that some of them are coming in with a knowledge already, and then they're building on that, because how much you definitely can learn a lot. I'm not going to say you can't do it, but you definitely can learn a lot in 12 weeks. But are you learning enough to be a software developer in that time frame? Are the boot camps providing that? I haven't been through one. Yeah. But just me studying on my own and like going through college courses where I'm learning programming, I'm learning these things, and I'm not in a boot camp, but I'm in a semester long programming class. I'm like, well, how did you learn more in 12 weeks than I learned in a semester of school, right? Yeah,
but the semesters are different, right? Because you got credit hours, you're only taking 3 hours a week, whatever it is. If you have a concentrated experience where every single day or 5 days out of the week, right, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, that you're actually focused on that technology, that it doesn't take a long time to learn these technologies, right? Coding's different, program is different, some of the development's different, but for the most part, all you got to do is, place a little emphasis on learning a skill, and you can get it down and dominate. Right. So, like, I like the idea of boot camps. I like the theory of boot camps, but I think that if you go into a boot camp, it should walk you into a job. Like, there should be some kind of pathway that boot camp has into
that's what they claim. A lot of them are claiming that they do that.
But again, they need to be legit in doing that. If that's what they're going to offer, then cool. Then maybe the $15,000 is worth it. If you're gonna make $80,000, you didn't have a job before, right? So the difference of $15,000, $80,000, $65,000, right? You're coming up. Your ROI is $65,000, right? Then it makes total sense to do that.
See, well, what you're saying is like, I think and I don't want to like I don't know if I'm changing the topic, but I don't want to. But I think that's the same thing that's the same thing that college was supposed to do for you, right? So I think that once a certain amount of money gets involved, everything begins to change with it, right? And I think that's what's happening now with boot camps. Maybe there were boot camps at a time that were helping people legitimately, Absolutely. But now I think it's become more of a money thing, because there's boot camps popping up everywhere saying we're going to place you, and you got people that's going in there and they're not getting placed.
You can't place everybody. Right, like you just can't. As they get hot and they start catching on, and you have all this placement. Now, instead of 10 people you're placing, you got 100 people. Right. The system's going to break. Right. So, just be careful with the boot camps that you select. Do your research. And I think we probably should do some research on some of these boot camps. Maybe, tap in and experience some of them and like make a recommendation.
I for sure want to do that. I want to take a boot camp myself, and I want to go through and let you guys know the experience that I had from going through that course. But I just got to figure out. I'm gonna look up one that's gonna be helpful for me and what I'm looking to do in my career. And then hopefully maybe they'll give me a sponsorship and let me go there, let me go through for free. Right. But they be like, no, we need 25,000. I'm like,
but we don't need it, right? And that's the thing too. It's like we don't need these boot camps, so we want to do an honest assessment of your boot camp. And again, if it comes out and it's helpful, then great on you, right? Because that's more, I'm not gonna say it's Yeah. I mean, it's backing from us, to them, but what is that to them? It is what it is. Because again, if we don't have a good experience, then I'm gonna let you know that we didn't have a good experience,
right?
And they didn't teach me nothing, right?
I could have learned this on Hack the Box or
Udemy or Cybrary or any of these other platforms that are out there, because you have those too. And again, the price on those it's minimal.
Speaking of boot camp, I say I never been through a boot camp, but I have.
Okay.
It wasn't. Now listen, it wasn't 100% official, but it was a boot camp, right? When I say it wasn't official, it was like the guy was a professor, and he's like, and he was creating his own boot camp.
Okay.
But he had about 10 students in there. Some of them went to his school, and then he's like, other people can come join my boot camp as well.
Yeah.
And it was you paid him. I don't remember the exact price, but it wasn't as expensive as the boot camps out there, like $10,000. Maybe I paid him like a couple $1,000 people to help us get the CCNA, right? But as I'm going through the boot camp course, I was like, most of this I could do on my own.
Yeah.
It was just like, all right, we're gonna read chapter 1 today. We go through chapter 1. These 5 things are gonna be important. I'm like, okay, $1,000, $2,000,
Yeah.
like, so if that's what the boot camps are doing, I mean, yeah, that's helpful, but is it worth that much money to you, or can you kind of do some of the stuff on your own? And I think that's all geared to the person too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a thing when you're talking about ignorance, right? Because a lot of that is just your ignorance. You didn't know that there are other materials out there that you could have learned from, which he was given the same thing, right? He could have pulled from Udemy, right? And say, hey, here's my course, and here's what I'm offering you. And I've been to classes where the instructor has depended on YouTube to teach us. They actually called it a special guest.
I mean,
because we were all remote, right? They're like, hey, we got a special guest coming in today, and they would play a YouTube video. And it's like, all right, so what y'all think of the guest? And it's like, it's a YouTube video, man. Like, come on now. And they did it so much that I was like, this is a pure waste of time.
Right.
But they got paid at the end of the day. And again, it's just that hustle, man.
Right. And I'm saying, once money gets involved into it, it kind of changes the essence of what's really going on, and like, the actual value. So like, if we had to say, like, in your opinion, if someone came and say college, boot camps, or certs, what are you telling them?
I would say certifications, but that's me, and it depends on you as an individual. I'm a self-starter, right? So I know that there's more to it than just what's in the books of these certifications. There's a lot more digging that you have to do to understand these concepts and theories. But if you're not a self-starter, right, you need somebody to hold your hand, then maybe look at boot camps if you don't have the scholarship or the money. I'm just not the biggest believer in degrees nowadays, because I feel like there's just so much information out there that you don't need to go in that type of debt. It's crippling. Like, it really stops you from doing a lot of things. And, I'm thankful that I don't have any student loan debt, but, when we did, it's just one of those things that continues to linger until you pay it off. Right. And I just wouldn't want people to have to deal with that. So, yeah, the first thing would be certifications, because I know that you can kind of learn different skill sets through certifications. It might not be, Security Plus. It could be, a CCNA, a Splunk, something vendor specific.
Right.
Just depending on what the job market is really calling for, and then go from there.
Right.
And then maybe get on the job and see if they have tuition assistance and have them pay for it. Right. Because that's out there too. So that's how I would do it. But how would you do it?
I would say go the college route, right? If you can find a way to mitigate having as much student loans as possible, if you can mitigate that, that's the best way to go. And if you can't, it's still the best way to go, because I think that it just helps you build some of those intangible skills that you may not get, and you can still get the certs as well, right? But I feel like college degrees are still a high requirement right now, so that's the only reason, just because they're required. Like, I'm not gonna boast and say you're gonna get the most information, you're gonna be the greatest skilled, but I definitely think just because it's a high level requirement, I would go that route. And then that's when you have to go that route, be building your skills in other places as well, as far as getting those certs or, networking as well too.
When they asked you, when you got your job, did they ask you for your degree?
The particular job I have now, matter of fact, no. They didn't ask if I had a degree, right? But when I was asking for a raise, they asked that I have a degree.
Absolutely. Right. And that's what I'm saying. Once you get in, you're trying to scale, right? Mm-hmm. That's where that degree kind of comes into play.
Right.
But when you're trying to get a job, so they didn't ask you for it, right? When I applied for a job, you know what they asked me for?
What's that?
I need to see your certs. Right. And go and submit them right now just to make sure that you are current on your certifications. They didn't ask for a transcript. It's on my resume.
Right.
But they didn't say, hey, I need to see your master's transcript. I need to see your undergrad transcript. None of that. They need that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And that's a nuanced thing, because it's different for different people, right? Because if you have zero job experience, you know, the college degree is going to help you mitigate not having some experience, right? Okay. So that's where it comes in. And if you're an experienced professional and you have the opportunity to go back to school or grab certs, and you already been working in a particular field for 5-10 years, the certs are probably going to mean more for your advancement. Yeah. But then also, if you want to get into managerial roles, then the degrees will help too. Yeah. But the certs are going to help you more along those lines. So it's, you know, depending on where you're at as well.
Okay. Well, what are your thoughts? We giving you ours, and we would be curious, you know, whether or not you think college is a requirement in order to get a job, if that's the first thing you should do, or certifications or boot camp is better. So we're just providing our tech sense, and we'd be interested in yours. So this is just my tech sense, and we'll talk to y'all later.